Good morning, everybody. This is Mike Killian of the Navigator Prophetic Ministry out of Charlotte, North Carolina, on the east coast of the United States. Got a message for you today on the trick of the beast. We have heard from many prophecy teachers that the mark of the beast is an economic mark that we carry that allows us to buy and sell. Well, that's true. All that is one of the applications of the mark of the beast for us today. That could be our social security number, it could be our PIN number on our ATM card, or our bank account number. That's all applicable, that's all true. But which is an attitude, okay? It's an attitudinal thing. And we find it first, the first mark ever placed on a, and he was then sent out of the garden because he was being cursed. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the mark that was placed on Cain. Now, I'm going to make a notation here because I just got another revelation. So, we're going to talk about the mark of the beast being placed on Cain. Okay? Now, you know that Cain killed his brother. So what was that all about? We're going to talk about that here. You know the story. His brother was to bring a sacrifice that God, dictated, that he prescribed. He directed them to bring, which was a blood sacrifice. And Cain brought the first of his produce. So he brought something that the Lord did not ask him to bring. And he was cursed over it. And what ensued was a little dispute, and Cain killed his brother over the sacrifice of God and what that sacrifice was to be. So here we see him, and I've got what was happening. Cain was wanting God on his own terms. Now, I want you to apply this to your behavior and your attitudes. Also, apply churches to this litmus test right here. All right, when I think of all the denominations that we have, it's based, what separates the denominations is doctrinal differences. Well, Cain and Abel here had a doctrinal difference, okay? And most of all, it was between Cain and God, okay? So the first thing that Cain was guilty of was wanting God on his own terms. He was trying to dictate to God. He also was trying to change God's law to suit himself, okay? Thirdly, he was thinking you have a better idea than God does. When we think we got a better idea than God, okay, that's your own mind over his mind, and that's the mark of the beast. Then he was wanting his way so seriously that he would kill another saint over it, just to win an argument. Okay? Always wanting to be the winner, meaning someone loses. Okay? Now, to get the first, the born. Okay? So, he wanted the blessing of the firstborn, so he deceives his brother. He was willing to connive and deceive over it. to get that from his brother. And then he took advantage of Esau's weakness. Okay? All right, so who had the mark of the beast there? Was it Esau, who was so famished and hungry that he gave up his birthright? But there's something fishy about that story, because I certainly would not give up my rights to my inheritance because I'm hungry. I would just wait, okay? I would give up something else. How about I'd give up a $20 bill for a hot dog if I was really famished, but not my place in the family inheritance, okay? Something fishy about that story that's not being told there. So, Jacob wanted the blessing of the firstborn. In other words, he wasn't willing to be second. He wasn't willing to see his brother be first. He was willing to connive and deceive it, so he had a spirit of deception on him, a demonic spirit of deception. And he took advantage of his brother's weakness. Now, there's nothing more sinister than that. Yet, why did God say in Malachi 1:1-3, and Romans 9:13, that Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated? This is one of those big, important, happens to be the beginning of the schism between the Jews and the Arab people today. Okay? The Arab people, the Palestinian people, are not terrorists because they're bad people. They feel as though they have been Jewed out of their promise. You know, when God said to Abraham, remove Hagar and her son, Hagar didn't do anything wrong, and neither did the son. And when he had to kick them out, it says that Abraham, who was a type of God, loved Hagar and Ishmael. And he sent them out with a great promise. But can you imagine the orphan spirit that came upon Ishmael? And that's today. Today they have that. In fact, Islam does not teach that God had a son. It's because that's their experience. All right? All right. Now, also, here's another example. Job's 3 friends. He had 3 friends that argued from 3 different points of view. One was tradition. We have our tradition, and we say that you are to blame, Job, because our tradition says. Then we have the experience. One of the friends says, well, it's my experience that thus and so and thus and so, therefore, Job, you are wrong and you are sinful. And then the other one argued from assumption. Well, based on what I'm seeing here, Job, I assume that you have offended the Lord and that's why you're suffering like this. And all 3 of those guys were wrong. All of that was just wanting to be right. Okay? They should have kept their damn mouth shut. Okay? So that's the mark of the beast. How is it applied today? Yeah, it's probably that chip that's on your ATM card, but it's also an attitude. It is tradition, experience, assumption that is of God. It's deception. It's competition. And wanting to be right to the point where your brother suffers. You look at the denominations today. That is okay. I'll tell you what the real reason for the division in the denominations today, and it is some people are more hungry and thirsty for righteousness, so God fills them with greater revelation. And they move onward and upward. They fight against the greater revelation because God did not give it to me. He gave that to you? Well, you're wrong and I'm right. Okay, that's the mark of the beast. Okay. All right, that's my message for today. We need to avoid these things. And may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you and give you peace. May your anointing rise every day. Give me a thumbs up, people, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.